Hey, sweet friends. Welcome back to another episode of It's a Beautiful Day to Homeschool. I'm so glad you're here. But for those of you that are new to this show, this podcast is for new homeschool families and those of you with the precious elementary age kiddos who just want to do well and without the overwhelm. Around here, I believe homeschooling does not have to look like school at home. It can be gentle, meaningful, and built around your everyday life. So each episode, I talk about the simple teaching rhythms, early learning, building confidence as a new homeschool parent, and creating days that just feel peaceful instead of pressured. Whether you're just starting out or finding your footing, you'll find encouragement, practical ideas, and a reminder that you're not alone. So take a deep breath, grab your coffee, and that's about a homeschool that feels joyful and doable because truly it's a beautiful day to homeschool. So on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about teaching multiple ages. So this is where you are helping your kindergarten, sound out k, a, t, cat. I love that stage. But then you have your middle schooler, Mom, I need help with fractions. And I hate fractions. And then your toddler just dumps their bowl of cereal all over the floor. That part that nobody talks about. That's also the part where I start second guessing. Do I actually really want to homeschool? Which, yes, I actually do. But I have been there. I have done that. And man, do those days make me want to cry and pull my hair out. But that was when I realized that the rhythm that I had been working for our family was no longer working. And we needed to pivot and pivot fast. So I'm going to help give you some simple tips and realistic strategies to help ease those hard days into ones that actually work. And they'll work out pretty well. So my kids are almost 2 years apart to the day. And when I started homeschooling my son, my daughter was just a little bit too young to join in. So that made homeschooling pretty easy. I would just put her on the floor beside us with some toys like My Little Ponies or whatever she wanted to play with. And then other days I'd put her in a high chair with some Cheerios. So I know a lot of families that have young ones would homeschool when their kids would nap. And by golly, if you can utilize nap time to homeschool your other kiddos, please do. It's great. But that didn't work out for me. I was very fortunate, though, to have both my kids nap at the same time every day until my son was almost 8 and my daughter was almost 6. So then I got some wonderful quiet time almost every day. I loved it. Anyways, starting out again was pretty easy and pretty calm. Now, as the kids got older, my daughter was starting to be ready to learn, and so I schooled them separately. I let my daughter play independently while my son and I would work, and then I let my son play independently while my daughter and I worked. And that was okay for the first year, but then for the next year, it got to be a little bit harder because the material got a little bit longer and they had more questions and they may have needed a little bit more help. And I was starting to stress. But keep in mind, if your kiddos are young, like pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, you may only be doing about 30 minutes to maybe an hour a day of school. So at that point, it's really not that bad. But, when my son's going into third grade level material stuff and my daughter's first grade material stuff, they start having some extra questions and need a little bit more help with their writing. And so I was trying to do language arts, math, science, and history all separately every day. And that was bad. That part really made me want to pull my hair out. So I did just write a book a couple months ago called The Beautiful Beginnings, a starter guide for new homeschool moms. And I did that because I didn't know that I didn't have to squeeze all these subjects in every day. I literally was just mimicking what I did in public school, but at home. And man, the things I know now, I wish I would have known back then. And that is why I wrote that book, which you can find on Amazon or my website, homeschoolmomonthefarm.com. But I noticed something changed one day, and it was literally what I needed. I needed this change that had happened. And so I was reading the story of the world out loud in the dining room with my son. And my daughter, again, was just sitting on the floor playing with her My Little Ponies. But him and I would read this out loud, and sometimes we would get up and march around the table, and then we'd walk backwards around the table, and he may crawl around the table. It was just something to keep him moving. But I would stop every now and again and ask him a question to see if he was paying attention, and he actually was. So I was like, okay, we'll keep doing this. It's fun. One day, my daughter decided, she wanted to join in on the fun, and I'm not going to tell her no. I mean, we were having fun. And so she jumped in behind my son, and she starts marching behind him as I'm reading. And I stopped, and I turned around, and I asked a question. She answered it. I'm like, ooh, okay. So I asked another question, and she answered that one. And I'm like. So I looked at my son looked at me, we both started laughing, and she's just like, she knew what she was doing. And that, folks, changed everything. It did. It changed everything. She had been paying attention, even though I wasn't directly teaching her. She was still listening while she was playing. She was listening while she was marching behind us. She was listening. She was paying attention, and it changed everything. So that's when I realized I did not have to teach them separately. I didn't. I could teach them both together. Even though they're not the same age and they're not the same grade, they can still learn the same material at their own pace. So homeschooling after that became more enjoyable, and it became calmer, probably because I became less stressed. So again, starting out, I thought I had to teach my kids every subject every day, like a public school, and I didn't. So another thing that I noticed then was I don't have to be their teacher. I need to be their guide. I need to be their guide into learning. I need to let them explore. I need to let them ask questions, and I need to let them come up with their own ideas. Again, I don't need to be their teacher. I just need to be a guide. I also didn't have to school one kid at a time and then move to the next one. I can do this together. Yay! We still homeschool them together, except for math and language arts, and they still prefer that to this day. So when you have multiple kids, you can teach multiple subjects to those kids, even if you've got a first grader and a 10th grader. Believe it or not, you can do history with them together. You can do science. You can do read alouds. I mean, heck, you can even have your older one start teaching your younger ones, especially with the read alouds. You can do Bible together. You can do Spanish together. You can do group projects together. Honestly, it's really any subject besides, I feel like math and language arts is great done together. So again, if you have kids that are more than 2 years apart, you can have your younger child listen in. You can let them draw. You can let them play with My Little Ponies or with little Hot Wheels trucks. Just let them sit by you and listen in. And then for your older kiddos, you can always have them write and analyze different things. You can have it explain the topics in a deeper way. So even if you're teaching science to both a first grader and a 10th grader, you can teach the same material just at an age appropriate level. It's still the same thing. One's going a little bit deeper, and one might be just doing a coloring sheet and watching a video on it, but it's the same material. So it's all about what works best for your family. Again, if you need to do one-on-one rotations, say you have a very large family and you have a couple older kids, or even another group that's a couple younger kids. School those older kids together if you can, and then school the younger kids together if you can, or bring them together in like a unit study style where you're teaching the same material just at a more age appropriate level. I know I have a couple friends that have larger families, and they teach, 2 or 3 of the older kids together, maybe 1 or 2 of the younger ones together, but they still do that one-on-one rotation with the kids for math and language arts. But then everything else is either done grouped together with the older ones, grouped together with the younger ones, or grouped together as a whole family. And I love the whole family ones. I love the connection that it builds, not only with your kids, but with you and your kids. And I tell you what, I still learn something new every day with these kiddos. Another thing, if you have multiple kids and you have some younger ones out there, I like quiet bins, and our quiet bins have coloring books, they have construction paper, they have notebooks. My kids have been writing in their notebooks and creating their own little stories. It's pretty cool to see, and they're just adding on to it gradually. So that keeps one busy while the other one's doing, their math and their language. They could be doing educational games, they could do puzzles, anything that's really not distracting the other kids, I let them do. And I love this because you're starting to train independence on the younger ones. And I think that is great for them. Some things to share that might save your sanity, because who doesn't want to save their sanity? um, I covered this one in my last podcast, and it was about lowering your expectations. That alone will save you a lot of stress. And I'm not telling you, you know, expect them to do everything perfect every day to, oh, if they write their name, hey, we're good. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying every subject every day, because sometimes we still need to push them. And it just, especially those older ones, we still need to push them. But this is more for mom and dads. We tend to hold our kids at a high level and have high expectations, not just for school. We do it for sports as well. And I see it, and I'm pretty bad at it too. But when we realize that we kind of tone it down a little bit or lower it a bit, that will help you find your rhythm. That will give you a sense of peace. And just keep in mind, when it does come to that, again, not every day you have to lower your expectation, but some days you just need it. Also, another thing is your curriculum. Now, you can use an all-in-one curriculum, but not all curriculum is a one size fits all. Again, discussed in the last podcast. So if you're using an open go curriculum, that is awesome. Those are easy, especially when your kids are older. They can just open it, go get it done. You can check it. Piece of cake. Another kind of curriculum that you can try besides an open and go is going to be unit study style. That can, again, take some of the stress off your shoulders, because unit studies are great for big families, and they have it to where, again, you're teaching the same material, just at a more age appropriate level for your children, and your or kids can help your younger kids. Love that. Now, another thing that we need to sometimes learn to embrace is the good enough. If I am having a rough day or my kids are having a tough day, I will call it a day. I don't need them to be in tears. I don't want to be in tears. I know they've learned something for that day. It may not be exactly what I had planned, but that is good enough for me today. I constantly have to remind myself that all life is learning, not just sitting home in front of the books or online or in front of educational videos, but all life is learning, whether they are outside playing, whether they are in sports, whether they do nature walks, whether you're at the grocery store. Literally, everything counts. All life is learning, even on the hard days. Okay. So if you are currently homeschooling multiple ages and you are still struggling to find a good rhythm, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all those wonderful social media platforms. I'm Homeschool Mom on the Farm, and I'm always happy to help. And if I can help you find a rhythm or a structure to your day that just takes that stress off your shoulders, I would love to do that for you. I really would. So if you found this episode encouraging to you, please share it with another mama who needs to take a deep breath today, or who's feeling unsure, or who has a huge family and struggling to find that good rhythm. Again, come find me on social media. I'm Homeschool Mom on the Farm, and I love to celebrate those wins, offer encouragement, and walk through this homeschool journey with you. So until next time, remember, it's a beautiful day to homeschool.